I'm Troy Kirby with the Auburn Examiner with a quick update on the Auburn City Council. The May 10th Auburn City Council study session heard presentations on various ordinances, including pandemic hazard pay for grocery store workers, adding to the code of the municipal airport, and creating a business and occupation tax for Auburn businesses. Ordinance 6818, creating a hazard pay of $4 an hour for grocery store workers in large supermarkets, had a presentation by the Grocery Store Union and area grocers.
So that you're aware, as I present this evening, we are a largely union represented workforce. We have both the United Food and Commercial Workers of various locals and also the Teamsters are a part of us as well. Costco is kind of a mix of representation. Some of their employees have chosen to be represented by a union. Some have not yet made that decision. And so they don't oppose unionization. They just have a mixed workforce. So just so you have some context on our workforce as we go forward. And that's important as we talk about the wages and specifically around this issue of the additional pay, because we don't pay minimum wage in our stores. Our union contracts are above minimum wage, and they start with a wage scale that's agreed to by the employers and the union as part of our contract, which is open every few years, but then also can be reopened through that arduous union process that I'm not even going to pretend to understand, but know that there is always negotiations that go on.
I am curious because we're talking about bumping pay for people on the front lines. Just what is the median wage for frontline workers like cashiers here in Auburn?
So I'd be happy to answer that because it's information I included in your packet. On average for our stores, and I won't speak for minutes, but our contracts are similar. It's about $19 an hour. And then add on to that about $4 plus for benefits, health insurance, pension.
In Auburn, Star Super Saver Foods is one of our members that will be impacted by the legislation solely because of their employee size. They have more than 250 employees, but less than 500. Independent grocery stores on average have a profit of 1%. At the beginning of COVID, the profit did increase, which is when the vast majority of our stores also did the Heroes Pay. It was also a time when we didn't know how COVID spread. Our supply chain was absolutely bonkers and we were unable to get products. The rush did stop and our revenue then is now stable.
As most of you know, the COVID-19 pandemic represented a profound change to our public health infrastructure, our social safety net, and our essential food supply chain. Over the last year, we've seen a lot of changes in scientific consensus and federal directives. During that time, Local 21's hundreds of members in the food retail industry in Auburn have struggled to provide basic food and other necessities to the consumers in the Auburn community. It's been a really stressful time for our members. Significant portions of them have reported suffering symptoms of health, depression, anxiety, things like that.
So the activism you're saying that pushed you guys to ask for the hazard pay, where is it? I'm not seeing it is what I'm saying.
Oh, well, my understanding is that this discussion around hazard pay is born out of some lobbying and organizing that a handful of our members who work in Auburn have done. I understand they've written the council, they've called the council, they have gotten their coworkers to sign petitions asking for the council to bring this up.
Ordinance 6814, creating a business and occupation tax for Auburn businesses, had a presentation to the council.
I went forward and finalized an ordinance for our B&O tax, assuming a variable rate structure ranging from half of 1% for retail, 0.15% for the services sector, and 0.1% for manufacturing and other, and 0.18% for the wholesale sector, as well as a 10-cent per square foot tax per square foot per quarter for warehousing businesses. And that's for warehousing space greater than 4,000 square feet.
Jamie, have we done all that we can to, shall we say, the square footage fees for warehouse floor space to help mitigate some of the fees that are being charged to some of the other businesses in the city?
So there's a two-tiered thing. If their gross receipts tax is more than the square footage tax, they would pay the square footage tax and not the 40 cents in, I have to do the math, but let's say it was 40 cents. They would pay the gross receipts tax instead of the square footage tax.
We've done a lot of outreach to chamber members. We've had all of our meetings with the chamber members. I know you have had more sessions with them as well. What type of outreach have we done with the non-members of the chamber? Have you had any feedback from them?
Then the chamber there's been a couple of businesses, I think mostly have gotten their information through the chamber, and they've contacted us directly to ask some very specific questions that we've tried to answer and work our way through those on a one-on-one basis. There hasn't been any outreach, partly because we don't have a code to say this is what's coming your way. There's obviously, we're starting to kind of get into a crunch time between now and January when the tax would become effective, but this would be a very critical 7-month period of time where we're doing business outreach, answering questions. I think that having an actual code in place to be able to answer more specific questions is the most important piece.
Ordinance 6820, relating to the Auburn Municipal Airport and updating code revisions, earned a presentation with the council.
So many of you recall back in 2019, we actually changed our management structure at the airport and went from having a contract management system out there to actually having management by our in-house city staff, which is Tim and his team. And as part of that, we've been going through our code language related to the airport and doing an update of that language to fit with that new management structure.
Thank you for watching the Auburn City Council Update, presented by the Auburn Examiner.